What's going on, my SB community, my KD community? What's going on, everybody? I want to welcome you to Knicks Daily. I am your host. My name is Sheer. And we already know we are first to many and second to no one on covering the news, team views, and the who's who connected to our New York Knicks. It is a Friday and the ops are out to get me. Had to take my car to the shop today. Man, when it rains, it pours, but we keep going because we want all the smoke here at Knicks Daily. So I want to welcome you. If you're visiting my channel for the first time, do me a favor, throw up the likes, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications. Anytime we drop new content, you will know. Help me grow this thing strong. I welcome you and I hope you enjoy the content. We got a good topic today. We got several topics. Next, if you are returning to the channel, my SB community, my KD community, welcome back. You already know, baby, we're growing this thing strong. We at about 935 subscribers. We're growing this thing out to be the best Knicks content channel on YouTube. Yeah, I said it. I'm coming for the thrones. Watch the thrones. All right? Now, you know you can't have those people who support you, those people who encourage you through your mistakes, through your triumphs. You can't have those people always in your corner. If you don't have those people, who are the ops? This bitch! I know you in the comment section. I know you secret watching, critiquing, scared to do it yourself. Well, guess what? You rocking with the best, baby. Take notes. Take notes. Got a great show for you today. Great episode. The title of this episode is How Leon Kryptonite Rose's Rise Threatens LeBron's Klutch Kingdom. But we're going to do it unique today. We're going to do it in the spirit of Knicks Daily. If you're visiting my channel for the first time and you're unaware of the traditional setup of Knicks Daily, let me tell it to you. Here at Knicks Daily, everybody eats. Everybody eats. Here at Knicks Daily. But here at Knicks Daily, there are only 4 items on the menu. First is the bacon, egg, and cheese. You got to say it that way. It's one word, not 3 words. It's the bacon, egg, and cheese. And that means what are the 3 ingredients that make this phenomenal sandwich bussin'? So whatever the topic we're talking about, we're going to look at 3 components of that topic that makes that topic important. Second on the menu is the dollar slice. Everybody knows that New York has the best pizza in the world. Yeah, I'm ODing with the Flex Bomb. And the pizza is a staple of New York. So we're going to talk about what is the staple of the topic? What is the staple of the conversation that makes this thing bust? And third, we have the chopped cheese. Chopped cheese is relatively new to that New York menu, but that thing be busting also. So we're going to talk about what topic is relatively new in the news or on the tongues of Knicks fans, but it was important to cover. And lastly, you can't have the bacon, egg, and cheese. You can't have the chopped cheese. You can't have the dollar slice unless you got something to wash that thing down with. And we call that the quarter water. And during the season, typically a quarter water would be a player that would come into the game and inject that energy into the game and help us get over the top. This would be what is the most recent topic we're going to cover today here at Knicks Daily that help, contribute to the buzz that's going on Knicks Twitter. So we're going to look at that as well. And then we have what we like to call the nah, son, nah. You wildin'.
Nah, son, nah. You wildin'.
And that's when we hear something connected to the Knicks. Or we hear something in the NBA that's general, but we could tie it to the Knicks. That makes you look at the screen sideways with the bombastic side eye and go, nah, son, nah.
Nah, son, nah.
You wildin'. Okay? And we're going to wrap it up. So I'm going to try to keep this in a nice little pre-package. And we're going to do this thing only the way we know how to do it. Excellent. Okay? But before I do anything, if you're a fan of my channel, if you know you rock with me, you know I don't go into any content on my channel without giving a shout out to the mother flipping KD community. Yeah. And you know what we do. So I always give a shout out to 5 new subscribers to the KD community. And those 5 subscribers we call Shear's Top 5. So number 1 is Ray Reacts. Number 2 is the Hola Native Riders. Number 3 is Kurt2512. Number 4 is Tyrone English. And number 5 is Electric. We're giving you the New York round of applause. Yeah. I want to thank you for supporting me. That's real talk. Real talk. We are building this thing up. You watch the videos, you watch the shorts. If you're entertained, that's my whole point. We have a different style here. We're not here to be preachy. We're not here to necessarily dive into the numbers. We're here to give you that organic feel about what we hear about our New York Knicks, that common sense feel about what we see and what we hear about the team, and that experience that we lean into when we know the components of a good organization, goddammit. That's the lens through which I see our team. And that's what makes me unique, goddammit. But we're going to get into it right now. Before we do, just another quick shout out. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. 935 subscribers and we're growing. Let's hit 1K. I'm going to chill on the flex button. I know I'm ODing. But let's get into this thing, y'all. Let's get into this thing. What are we looking at? What are we talking about today? We're talking about Leon. I call him Kryptonite. Leon Kryptonite Rose's rise threatens LeBron's kingdom. And that's going to be the topic of which we lead this show today. Y'all heard the news. Y'all heard the talk about Zach LaVine. Y'all heard about the talk about the New York Knicks having interest in that young man's talents and abilities on the court. And then all of a sudden, one of the minions of your boy LeBron James decides he wants to raise his head and say, nah, son, nah. Y'all wildin'.
Nah, son, nah. You wildin'. If
you think we're going to let him come to New York. So we're going to talk about that because it's more than what you think. It's more than that. It's more than just, oh, you know what? They got CAA over there. And I think you did Cam Reddish wrong. It's more than that. Don't let them pull the wool over your eyes. It's more to that. And many of you know what it is. And we're going to dive into that. But that's going to be the overarching topic today. But there's a couple of things that I want to get into. And I'm going to get into it only the way New York Knicks Deli knows how to. Let's start with the bacon, egg, and cheese. So what topic is the bacon today? We're going to get into it. But before we do, I know I keep prolonging that. Let me give a shout out to the comment section. My guy Cherokee Indian is in the house. Let's go. Round of applause, New York style. Yeah. Cherokee Indian says the Knicks did well last night. They picked up Obi's bro. They didn't need draft picks this year. They got enough young talent. Yeah, we're going to talk about it. You're in the right place because you know how we're going to lean in this conversation. But let's get into this thing. All right? The bacon of the bacon, egg, and cheese. And I'm going to flow, but I'm going to let y'all chime in as well. Bacon of the bacon, egg, and cheese is the topic of no moves on draft night. So Cherokee Indian, you, my guy, are psychic. The New York Knicks didn't make any moves last night. We didn't have a pick in the draft. Nah, we didn't. We made 0 moves. And I was good with it. And you know why? Because progress is not being part of the draft because you're a good team. Get used to this, Knicks fans. This is what it feels like when you are a respectable team. You don't necessarily have a pick in the draft. We should have with that Dallas pick, but you don't necessarily have a pick in the draft if you are a solid team and you made some progress not only in the regular season but in the playoffs. This is what a good team looks like. So keep that in mind. Secondly, I know somebody raised the topic of Jacob Toppin being signed by the New York Knicks. Yeah, Obi Toppin's little bro. Obi Toppin's little brother. So once again, we didn't necessarily make a move in the draft. We didn't make a move to get into the draft this year. But the New York Knicks continue to make incremental moves. They continue to keep their eye on talent in unconventional ways. And last night's move to pick up not only Obi Toppin's little brother Jacob, but the gentleman from the G Elite team. Talented also. Small moves. That'll make a big difference in the long run. Okay? But the move to sign Obi Toppin to a two-way contract, Obi Toppin's little brother to a two-way contract, was more than just a move to fill out the roster. Because as we all know, and this is something we're going to talk about later in the show, there was a little bit of murmuring that there was dissension in paradise with Obi Toppin and the New York Knicks organization. So the move that the New York Knicks made last night, it was an important one. It was an important one. First and foremost, it was a pivot to the narrative. Once that news got out, it set Knicks Twitter afire. And everybody was saying it's time for the New York Knicks to move on from Obi, or it's time for the New York Knicks to move on from Julius Randle. But Obi's not happy, and he's finally expressing it. But what the New York Knicks did last night, in signing that young man, first and foremost, it speaks to whatever the plans are. I know that young man is his own individual. He's his own player. His future is not necessarily tied to Obi Toppin, but why would you sign that young man to a two-way contract if your intention is to be working the phones to let Obi go elsewhere? Why would you do that? If you do that knowing Obi loves the team and he just wants more playing time, he wants a greater role in the system and in the success of the New York Knicks, and then you send him off to another team, but you have his family there, you have his little brother there. We know this is the business, but that's not good PR. And that's what that move is about. That move is about how you take care of your players. That move is about the image and rehabilitating the image of the New York Knicks over the past few years as a dysfunctional organization, as an organization that can't be trusted. So I was proud to kind of see that amongst the firestorm, the mini firestorm that was set ablaze this week with that news that Obi and Tom Thibodeau, Obi and Coach Brunson had gotten into it sometime during the season. And that Obi was dissatisfied with his role, and he voiced it directly after a playoff game. Everybody was looking at it like, there's trouble in paradise. There's trouble in paradise. Look at that. Obi's not happy. I told you. So then the New York Knicks go on and they sign this young man. Okay? So shout out to the New York Knicks for doing that as well. We're going to get more into Obi. Calm down. I'm not glossing over it. That's something that needs to be dived into. But the bacon today is the fact that the New York Knicks did not have to make a move on draft night. I'll leave you with this in terms of the bacon. Remember last year, goddammit. Remember last year. I remember it too vividly because I had a Zoom watch party. At that time, me and my family, we were spread out all over the country, but now we combined on that particular day by Zoom to watch our New York Knicks hopefully draft the point guard of the future. I was working at Purdue University, so I knew Jaden Ivey well. And my hope was that we were able to sign that young man and he would lead us into the next 10 to 20 years of New York Knicks basketball. And we all sat there looking dumbfounded and befuddled at the screen, not knowing what the hell the front office was doing because we didn't do a doggone thing. And I'm legit puzzled, like, What is going on? We traded we traded veterans and we got rid of salary. And then the murmuring started happening that the New York Knicks was trying to come off a salary so that they can ensure that they go after Jalen Brunson. And then that rumor was abound. So then it started to make a little bit more sense. It was a little bit, a better feel because I didn't feel like we were at a complete loss. Everything was done for a purpose. I don't know. So maybe the front office does have an idea what they're doing. Let's let them cook. And then when they went out there and they secured their target, when they were able to get the point guard, it felt just a little bit better. Because the New York Knicks fan base is not accustomed to having a good point guard. So we didn't know how to feel. It felt just a smidgen better. That on draft night, it wasn't so bad. Okay, maybe they had an idea what they were doing. And then later on in that free agency period, the Utah Jazz let it be known Donovan Mitchell is now on the block. And then things got interesting. And it especially got interesting because DeJounte Murray was first announced that he was available. And the Atlanta Hawks did what Hawks do. They swooped in and clasped him and picked him up right out before the New York Knicks could fixate their eyes on him. Atlanta Hawks swooped in and got him. And New York Knicks fans were sitting there like, God, doggone, Leon sleeping at the wheel. Not knowing that we would be in a contentious and an intense negotiation to bring Donovan Mitchell to the New York Knicks that would last into the month of August. Until Danny Ainge decided he wanted to be greedy. He didn't just want what was there. He didn't just want some of the young talent. He wanted all of it. And he wanted picks. And in that moment, we realized that our front office was smarter than the average bear. And they walked away. And the New York Knicks decided to take what it is that they had and move forward into the regular season. And we've seen how that turned out. So remember last year, Knicks fans, when you sit here and you complain or you're thinking about feeling salty or discouraged because the New York Knicks didn't make a move in the draft. Remember last year. No, not only do you remember last year's draft, but remember last year's season and playoffs. We actually, if we went back with it today, we have enough. And we have experience together. And we have another year in which we're going to work through our cohesion to get back to this point and a little bit further next year. If we move forward without a move, we have enough. But also understand this is the next phase of the summer. We are now entering free agency. And that, my friends, is something to look forward to. Okay? So that is the bacon of the bacon, egg, and cheese. The fact that there was no moves made by the New York Knicks and that you should be pleased and a little bit settled and stable about that, because it's a lot of good things that are a sign of not having picks in this year's draft. It means, and it shows us that there's a sign of stability in New York. Okay? The egg is what I just talked about. Free agency. The free agency period is upon us. Okay? Now, I talked about remembering last year. And I talked about it really being quiet. Remember that little meme that they have on Twitter with the Knicks fan is taking a stick and poking at the Knicks logo and saying, do something. Why are we the only team not doing anything? Do something. And then out of the hat, the rumors about Jalen Brunson and us going after him. That was abound all season. So we had an idea that he was somebody we were targeting. But then out of the hat came Donovan Mitchell. And we had all the things in place to be able to pursue him. But we knew if we would have went all in, if we would have pushed all of our chips in the front of the table, then we would be looking like Phoenix, top heavy. with all of our money tied in to a few players and no depth. And that was something that Leon Rose decided, you know what, it's too rich for my blood. Too rich for my blood. Let Cleveland go forward with him. And we walked away from the table. So we didn't go into the free agency period necessarily last year with intentions to be a player in that sweepstakes. But that's where we found ourselves. And the New York Knicks fans, we didn't see it coming. So I say this to you. Sit back, pay attention, relax, because we're entering year 4 of this rebuild. We're entering year 4 of the contracts of a Leon Rose and a Tom Thibodeau. The year in which a move should be made, whether it's in the summer or whether it's at the trade deadline in the middle of the season. This is the year for it. This is that year where we go from second round to conference finals and competing in the conference finals for an opportunity to go to the finals. This is the year. Give credit to James Dolan. James Dolan brought that team in and he said, you know what? Everybody's been saying, I don't let y'all cook. Everybody's been saying, I always have to put my fingers in the pot to taste. Pause. God damn it. Damn that camera on and make sure. Gotta put my finger in the pot, taste the sauce and see if it's cooked. They say you should get out of the kitchen, James Dolan, and that's what he did. But before he left, he said, listen, I'm gonna let you cook, but I want to let you know what I want as part of the final presentation of my meal. I want me a superstar. So whether you have one already made and you know how this meal is going to end in Jalen Brunson and he's it, surprise me. Or make a way to get somebody who's going to help take this team to another level. And that's done in free agency, if the right deal and person and opportunity presents itself. So when we're talking about free agency, we got to remember those things. And we got to remember the fact that it was close to the end of July and into the beginning of August that information became news and that we were locked in on negotiations about that as well. So keep that in mind. This particular period, very early on, we've already been linked to a couple of players who kind of fit that status, have the talent and have the ability to be able to take this New York Knicks team, if you add them to our formula, up another notch. We're talking players such as Zach LaVine. Paul George has been discussed. Zion Williamson as a possibility. All of which can elevate us beyond where we were last year. So I'm tremendously proud of this New York Knicks organization to be able to position us to be in the right spot, to be able to be in those conversations, to be considered to be able to make those moves. Let's watch what they do. Let's see what they do, because usually around this time, there's a lot of smoke screens. There's going to be a lot of rumors. There's going to be a lot of hearsay. And it's their responsibility to cut through all that smoke and get to what's right. And as Knicks fans, the smartest fan base in the NBA, we can do the same. We got to make a differentiation of what's smoke and what's real. Okay? So free agency, that's something that I love. We have an opportunity. We have a front office who knows what they're doing. We got to let them work. Okay? But this also leads me to the cheese of the bacon, egg, and cheese. Let's talk about it. And this is my headline for today's show, because I laughed out loud when I saw Rich Paul release the statement about, you know what, Zach LaVine's team has no interest in New York. Come on. Zach LaVine's team has no interest in making the deal or going to New York. And along the lines, you know what they said the reason was? The foundation of that statement being released, what that reason was? That it's rumored that they don't like the way we treated Cam Reddish.
Nah, son, nah. You wild.
God damn it, that should be the nah, son, nah, you wildin' moment of the game. That should be the nah, son, nah, you wildin' moment of this episode. You bugging. You saying the reason you don't want your client who probably has interest in New York, and clearly the team who has interest in seeing what's the realistic possibility of bringing him to the Mecca, Cam Reddish. I feel like Allen Iverson, practice, not a game, practice, Cam Reddish. So let me dive into that a little bit, because ultimately this is what's happening, you know, and I'm gonna dive in right now. I'm gonna dive in just a little bit because it's interesting to me. The rumors abound and people can kind of come to their own conclusions. We know we CAA. We know our front offices affiliated ties. You know we affiliated. You know we CAA over here. You know we circling the block. Come on now. And we know you Klutch over there. We know where we at. You ain't got no love for CAA and Death Row. You know, Teflon Tibbs and Tibbs Mafia. You ain't got no love for us. Let it be known then. We know what it is. But I laughed. I had to laugh because it's comical. And there's many signs. And if you go watch my videos, go check my videos out. I'm talking about the decline. I'm talking about the sun setting on LeBron James's era in this league. And what he's doing is strategic. The man is a genius. He does have genius level talents in terms of his image and controlling his narrative. Check out what LeBron James is doing. Don't let it go over your head, folks. He's knowing that he no longer, his ability to determine personnel matter and moves, that's dwindling as his career begins to set. He's carrying out his career so that he can say he played at the same time as his son. He's stretching this thing out. But in terms of his influence to impact the game and put a team on his shoulders and lead them to a championship, that's over. Those days are over. But the man is slowly transitioning to influence. And we all know Rich Paul is the figurehead of Klutch Sports. And LeBron James has been cerebral behind it all of these years. In plain sight in front of the commissioner, making moves, leading people over here, having back behind the scenes conversations. Your best friend is running the most powerful sports agency in the sport. And nobody could do nothing because intellectually he outlasted everybody in the NBA, all of the people that make decisions by creating a sports agency in his own sport. Masterful. But the one thing that can disrupt and interrupt any of your plans with your sports agency is another sports agency that steps into the arena. How many of you work out? How many of you work out and you're feeling good about your progress? You know what I mean? Your traps are trapping. And you know, you're sitting and you're feeling yourself because you got your little swirl with it. And somebody else walks in the gym and they're bigger than you are. And you know us guys, we're gonna size each other up. You know, I could fold him, I could take him out. But there's that one dude that'll walk in the gym and his traps are trapping and the shoulders are shouldering. And he walks just closely by you to make sure you know that you're smaller than he is. And that's when you do this. You set it on them. But I say this, CAA is that new dude that just walked into the room. And LeBron and Klutch is just like, all right, we got this players, but I see that over here, the player agent that we used to be cool with now resigned his position, and he took on a position with a particular organization. And that mirrors what LeBron did, because LeBron clearly started Klutch Sports. And then he tried to at least in public, disassociate himself from that agency. And say that's what they're doing. It's a conflict of interest if I'm a part of that in terms of leadership, so I'm separating. But Leon Rose basically did the same thing. He was the head of CAA until he relinquished his responsibilities to take on the role with the New York Knicks. But those ties are still there. And that's when LeBron senses a threat. That's when Klutch Sports senses a threat. But if you want to dive a little bit deeper into my conspiracy theory, it's beyond that. It started earlier than that. It started with LeBron's botched decision when he decided he wanted to make a circus out of making his announcement to go from Cleveland to Miami. And then he wanted to loop New York in and try to tease them, so he held that press conference right there in Connecticut, New York's backyard. And in his mind, he thought dramatically, oh, this is going to turn out like a fairy tale. I'm going to have people at the edge of their seat. We're going to publicize this and broadcast this all over the news networks. Everybody's going to be locked in and close to the screen. And they're thinking that I'm going to New York, but I'm not. I'm going to do the okie doke, and I'm going to say I'm going to Miami. And they're going to celebrate me for that. And what he didn't realize was in that moment, he would become the biggest villain. First and foremost, that people who love basketball saw what you was doing. They saw that you had all Knicks fans on bated breath by being in their backyard to make this announcement, leading them to believe that it may be New York. They saw, look, people outside of New York, people in Utah was just like, yo, that's disrespectful. That's disrespectful. And when you thought you was going to come out wearing the white hat, you were forced to wear the black hat. Because people haven't let you live that down ever since. That's why y'all salty. I'm here to tell you that your blame is misplaced. We ain't doing transference here. Don't put that on us. You put that on yourself. And from that moment, every move you tried to make was to try to discredit the New York Knicks. Not only their organization, their franchise, their fan base. And you tried to do it under the guise of, I don't like how they treated Melo. Oh, Phil Jackson called my crew posse or whatever. I don't like that. That has some type of racist connotation to it. Or I don't like what Dolan did to Uncle Oak. Everything. You look for a reason to point the finger and to diminish anything associated with one of the historic franchises in the goddamn NBA. And you've been able to successfully do that for 20 years. And people bought into that and believed that because the majority of the players in the league, they were your minions. They were part of your kingdom. You didn't compete with them, you befriended them. So then they let out their guard, and then you dominated them on the court. Jeff Van Gundy tried to warn us about that. Jeff Van Gundy said, I don't like when Michael Jordan tries to buddy up with the players. And then that lessens the competitive edge. And he smiles and thinks you're his friend. And Michael Jordan got mad at him because he was just like, that ain't even what I'm doing. What you thinking? Jeff Van Gundy knew what the hell he was talking about. And LeBron James is a student of the game. He studied that and he successfully did it with a whole generation of NBA players who still to that man's face tell him, oh, that's my favorite player. To that man's face calls him the GOAT. So when we look at in terms of now, you have the New York Knicks making traction. The NBA knows they're better off when the New York Knicks are good. But everybody else in the NBA, all the other teams, all of those superstars who forever sidestepped New York because King James sidestepped New York, who dismantled and discredited the reputation and the name, who talked about the stench that was on the Garden, who had no problem riding a subway, thinking they can get away with that in New York. Bottle flipping on Madison Square Garden's floor while the game was still in progress. Putting more wood on the fire to stoke the flames of making New York one of the biggest jokes in NBA history and feeding that to the media so that the media had a permission slip to shit on New York Knicks fans. Them days are over. Them days are over. Because what Rich Paul and Klutch Sports and behind that veil, LeBron James sees, they sees not only is the New York Knicks in a position where they've hired sound leadership, forward-thinking leadership. They hired the cap guy to help you put together those teams in Cleveland. They got Worldwide West on their side, that man who's the master of relationships on and off the court. They got Leon Rose, who is skilled not only as an attorney, so he pays attention to detail, but he's developed relationships around the league with people in front offices and players. Everything that you've got, we are the Bizarro and Bizarro World to your Superman, but we're the Kryptonite to your Batman. We're the Kryptonite to your Superman. What the hell I meant? We are the Kryptonite. Our front office got that and is coming together at the right time because all of the chips are starting to fall the right way for the New York Knicks. Trust me when I tell you this. That Rich Paul thing is a smokescreen. It's a last-ditch effort to try to keep the New York Knicks down, to try to put a foot on the hip of the New York Knicks fans so they don't stand up to that organization, so that they don't stand up erect and once again reclaim one of their rightful spot in this league. It's one of the top teams in this league. It's a last-ditch effort. And if Zach LaVine is a smart man, he'd make his own decision about whether or not he want to join the team. You see what's over there, and you see what you got in Chicago. But the New York Knicks are on the rise. And the most powerful entity over the last 20 years, they recognize it. And Rich Paul's statement that he released about the New York Knicks and not having interest, that's a testimony that the New York Knicks are on the right path and they're doing the right thing. Pay attention, Knicks fans. Pay attention. Right away, I picked up that's what it was. The addition of an all-NBA type of player to the New York Knicks team will thrust them in a position where they're going to be there over the next 5 to 10 years. The Knicks are one player away from making that happen. The Knicks are one player away from switching the conversation from this retirement tour to the league is in good hands. Adam Silver's on a star search right now. Not only individually, but who's going to be that next team that transcends? Our current NBA champion are the Denver Nuggets. They can't let that happen. The Denver Nuggets are your champion. Shout out to the Denver Nuggets. I know I'm being disrespectful. Shout out to y'all. The Denver Nuggets are your champion. So that's all I got to say. So the cheese of the bacon, egg, and cheese is Leon Rose's rise and the New York Knicks' rise threatening LeBron's kingdom. That's right. Okay. Before I dive in to what is the dollar slice, let's go to the comments. Let me see what y'all saying. Friend or foe, we want the smoke, so let your voices be heard. My guy Cherokee Indian once again called it where I was going to start at. Called it. He said the Knicks did well last night. They picked up Obi's bro. They didn't need draft picks this year. They got enough young talent. All facts. Cherokee Indian also says hopefully it means Obi stays and Randall's gone. I don't know. Let's see if that's what it is. I don't know. Let's see. My guy Allah Wise, welcome, my guy. Let's go. Says at Share Peace Fam, peace to you, my brother. Shot clock violation, you new to the channel, welcome. He says we not ready yet for conference finals. I beg to differ. Maybe not currently constituted, but come on, man. We were an offensive outburst from the Quentin Grimes. We were an offensive production, offensive contribution from IQ away from being there. What do you mean we're not ready? We were sniffing. We were right there. So I beg to differ. But we're going to see whatever move that we make this summer. And if we don't make a move, we have another year where we have an official point guard leading this team. We're going to be there. We ready. We ready. But shout out to you, Shot Clock Violation. My guy, Ashley Inc. My guy, Wise. What's up? What's up? Ashley Inc. 1 says, teams who think long-term should not go 2 years without adding talented youngsters on rookie contracts, especially if there are positions, physical types of need, and no guaranteed free agent available. We will see how this works out. Wise says, yep, my guy Wise says, Klutch side is the best side. Listen. We'll see. I stand on what I stand on. We'll see. Because what's happening right now is all these LeBron's whole kingdom. They done got old real fast. Many of the players, I know they don't do posters no more. Many of these players have LeBron's poster on their wall. That's their goal. That's their goal. But I'm telling you, it's an opportunity and it's a window for new stars to emerge. Question is, are any of those on our team? Because when you win, you change the narrative. 2 out of 3 years we made the playoffs. This year with our point guard, we saw a point guard who gave everybody fits this season. As long as we win, we can help change the narrative. That's what I'm looking forward to. Players have the ability to resign their representation and come on over to the dark side. So when I think of Klutch, my mindset goes, this bitch. Damn Klutch. Damn Klutch. Shout out to you. Allah says, at Wiz, we knew we had no pick in the draft though. Your expectations got you mad. Klutch can get these 100%. This bitch. Yeah, I agree with Allah Wise right now. I agree with Allah Wise. Klutch can go somewhere. Yeah, my guy Homer 1075 says, "Oh God, a screw loose your facts." This bitch. Oh, I don't know. That was my bad. I don't want to disrespect Oak like that. But Oak from Ohio. Oak is from Ohio. That's one thing that I'll say with LeBron when he says Uncle Oak from Ohio. He out there. He from out there in the Midwest. And he was salty at Patrick in the organization because they weren't maybe rolling out the red carpet or whatever he was saying with Dolan. Whatever happened. Oak gonna forever be New York. Oak gonna forever be the reason why many of us love those 90s teams. But don't start tripping like you don't know where you came from. No, this ain't no company man talk. This is if you orange and blue, act like you orange and blue. I know he talks the talk and he walks the walk, and to his credit, even during the season, the man was honest in his assessment. He said they just got to keep doing what they're doing. They got to keep working hard. They got to keep playing together. They got pieces. He said that about our New York Knicks. So shout out to Oakley, always keeping it 100, never changing. But Oak's still a little crazy. My guy AP says, excellent point. I appreciate you. Yo, shout out to all of you who are here for the first time. Do me a favor, hit that like button. Let's go. I'm going to get through this show. Ashley Inc. 1 says, we gave away our picks and could have easily purchased the second rounder for peanuts. Then we could have acquired more talent than UDFA. UDFA. Yeah, that's right. My message to you, Ash, my message to you, Wiz, is let them cook, bro. Let them cook. We were in the same situation and we had the same concerns and the same complaints last year at this time. Let them cook. See what's happening. You know, all year they've been working the phones, they've been working angles, they've been looking to see who's available. This did not spring up on them. They have a plan A, B, C, D, E, F, and a G. Let's see how this works out. We are now in the free agency season. And I know you're talking about the young players and bringing them in. Yo, we got a team full of young players, and we complain when they don't get time. We've developed these players. We've kept them for more years than our reputation would allow. Many of these players who were our young players are now our young veterans. They've been on the team for 3 or 4 years. We're going to add a rookie to that? It's time for what that next step is going to be, and they've done masterful positioning of making sure that we're here to be able to take advantage of an opportunity if it presents itself, brother. Be patient. Let them cook. Here in Knicks Deli, everybody eats. We just don't want to eat raw food. Let them cook. My guy Leandro returns. Let's go. He says, my man, it's good seeing you. My bad, I'm OD on that flex bomb. Allah Wise up next says, at Sheer. Obi high? Yeah, I don't know, but maybe. Maybe. Shout out to you, Allah's. AP says, that's a bad thing Klutch is doing. You never know when you'll need a team in the future to deal with. A mistake could be bad for a player's career. 100% facts. And what they're doing is what the Knicks were known to do in the past. You can't burn bridges in this league. And that's why it's important that we got people in the front office, people in the organization who have the reputation for building bridges. Come on, man, for us to be able to make deals with Dallas, for us to be able to make deals with Detroit. To come back repeated and make those deals. It's a big deal. It's a big thing. You know, so relationships are important in this league. And for the longest time, when we had a Phil Jackson leading the helm, when we had Isaiah Thomas in the front office, nobody wanted to deal with us because of the personalities and the connections that they had personally. Listen, it's a fine balance between business and personal. And you got to make sure you got people in place that know how to guide that line. Even Masai Ujiri is ruffling feathers right now. When you're good at what you do, it's not going to always be popular. But it's a talent and a skill and ability to straddle that thin line. And we have people in place to do it, and we have a person who is an expert in the cap, who can guide us financially on whatever decisions that we make. So that's 100% all facts, man. Relationships are important. And lastly, Allah Wise says, at Wiz, you have to read the whole story before you see how it ends, big bro. I'm on East 98th Street. Link up, my boy. Shout out to Wiz. Shout out to Wiz. Shout out to Allah Wise. So let me get into the rest of it. Let's talk about the dollar slice, y'all. Let's talk about the dollar slice here at Knicks Deli. So the dollar slice today is going to go to the NBA draft, the 2023 NBA draft. I know we would have loved to been a part of this draft. We would have loved to been in a situation where we could have been a player. in this draft, but we weren't. Okay? We weren't. But what I love to see, though, is leading up to this draft, when we thought we might have Dallas's pick, it really did force me to take a look at the talent that's coming out of this draft. And a lot of the buzz on the streets, even a year prior to this year's draft, was that this is one of the deepest drafts since, Carmelo, LeBron, and Bosh, that draft, and Wade. They said this is one of the deepest drafts since that draft. That you'll be able to find top tier talent going into the second round in this draft. Or at least it goes as deep as 15 to 20. So this would have been one of those years that I agree with you, Wiz, when you say, you know what? Man, if we could have got in there, picked up something, this probably would have been a year for it. But that's neither here nor there because we didn't. But I'm excited to see who becomes what in this draft. It was exciting for me to see the interview with Scoot Henderson. And he was asked about Damian Lillard, and he said, man, I'm just excited. I hope I have the opportunity to play with him. I'm looking forward to, yeah, we can play together. Yeah, we can coexist. I'm looking to see what we can do. These players who are coming out, they have talent, but I'm looking to see who is the next emergent star. Who's going to be the next star? Something that's an interesting look is, even though we had Wembanyama at the top, he was the only player that really stood out in terms of this draft that was a household name. Scoot got a little love, but Wembanyama is who everybody was talking about. And he's an international player. Shout out to Outkast. He's an international player. And I say that to say this. There are no American superstars on the horizon. College basketball didn't have any American player stand out and take over the scene and be plastered all over ESPN. I keep talking about LeBron James's era setting. This is the era of international basketball. The NBA has an international profile. Who are the top players in the NBA right now? We talking Jokic, we talking Embiid, we're talking Giannis, we're talking Luka, we're talking now Wembanyama, hell, we talking Murray. The profile of today's NBA is international. And it speaks to the global reach of the NBA. But who's going to be the next USA star? Who will young players coming up in the United States, who will they look to idolize their games after? And you can absolutely do it with international players. It may sound like that's what I'm saying, like, that they shouldn't be role models. Listen, they're the most fundamentally sound, the most skilled. They play basketball the best way. Where do we lose that? So I'm excited to see what comes out of this draft. The dollar slice is the 2023 draft. I'm going to be watching closely what players will emerge and rise to battle Wembanyama as contenders for Rookie of the Year. I didn't watch college basketball too tough this season. I want to see if this is one of the most talented draft classes in a while. Let me see if the experts are right about that. And let me see what these kids do as rookies. I was watching the pictures this morning because I didn't get a chance to watch the draft last night. And I'm looking at the faces and I ain't recognized none of them. You know how you play the video game so long that LeBron and Carmelo and them retire, and you have now a season where you're looking at all the players and all of the names are created names. All the draft for creative players, goddamn it, last night looked like creative players. They look like everybody who was creative players on the creative player list. Okay, I didn't recognize none of them. I didn't recognize none of them, and that's partly because none of them really had the type of transformational season or made enough noise like a Zion Williamson did when he was coming out of college. Or if you think back, even Tim Duncan was quiet as hell. He was busting people's ass at Wake Forest. Or Stephon Marbury at Georgia Tech. Come on now. So this year, the dollar slice for this episode is the 2023 draft. I'm looking forward to you young fellas seeing what you do with this. Now that you're in the real world, now that you pros, I'm looking forward to seeing who stands out. It's good. It's exciting when your team is good and you're looking forward to the season. Now you can truly appreciate the entirety of the NBA. And I haven't been there in a while. I appreciate the fact that the New York Knicks are playing respectable basketball, respectable basketball, because it now allows me to enjoy the NBA as a whole. Shout out to the New York Knicks. Next up on the menu, and we got about 2 or 3 more, okay? Who is the chopped cheese that we're going to talk about today here at Knicks Deli? The chopped cheese is Obi mother flipping Toppin, y'all. Obi mother flipping Toppin. So everybody knows, there's no secret right now. Obi Toppin let his voice be heard this week. Or news got out that Obi has been frustrated with the role that he is playing on the New York Knicks, that he expressed that to Tom Thibodeau in the way that he knows how. This bitch. And it did leak out. I don't know if many of us knew what it was when it happened, but it did leak out that Obi Toppin got into a tussle or shouting match with Coach Brunson. And I think further context is when Coach Brunson stepped in to argue on behalf of Tom Thibodeau. I think that was around the time that they had that argument. Someone else said, though, it was as recent as the playoffs, where the New York Knicks could have made the adjustment and put Obi in, and according to Obi, he was just like, yo, give me a shot. We're already down. We're already not winning. You know he injured. Give me a shot. So I say this because ultimately, in looking at Knicks Twitter, you see a lot of things. You see people taking sides. You see those people who are anti-Tom Thibodeau. This is their validation. See, even the young boy is saying it. Even he knows, no adjustments were made. This is why we need to get Tom Thibodeau out of here. Those people who are pro Thibodeau are just like, yo, listen, it's time to let Obi cook, man. The man does deserve it. Listen, let him go to another team. Let him flourish. If he's not getting playing time, why not? Let him go. Then you have some people just like, yo, it's just time for Julius to get the hell up out of here. Clear some space, get a ball to Obi, let him run. Let's rock and roll. Let's rock and roll. What do you say, Sheer? What's your take on it? My take is Obi Toppin deserves an opportunity. I saw this news, I sat back, I listened, and I was just like, yo, that's, honestly speaking, I was waiting for this from Obi. I was waiting for it. Hell, I was calling for it 2 seasons ago. I remember creating a video. Go back and look at go on my channel, check out my videos that I made on Obi. One of them talked about how your idols must become rivals. When Obi was drafted and he was a rookie, Julius Randle felt the heat on him. He felt the love that the crowd was pouring on Obi. And he was a little bit jealous by it. And you could see it in his body language. You could see it every time he would puff and brood over the fact that the New York Knicks fans were gaining a connection with Obi Toppin. He wanted all that love to himself. And every time you look at Obi and look at the energy Obi was giving like, yo, bro, you my veteran, bro. I don't care what they're saying. I'm riding with you. I'm learning from you. He got drafted and he saw Julius go on a tear for his MIP season. And he was in awe. But he also was excited that pressure wasn't on him, that he could do his little thing, get his few minutes, and learn behind this guy who was a veteran in the league doing his thing. And then Julius had that down season. And then that thumbs down season. And that's when Obi was just like, all right, yo, I gotta eat somehow. So when I do get time, I'm gonna make this happen. All along, you never heard a peep out of Obi. Never heard a peep out of Obi. Every time you heard something from Obi, he was talking in support of Julius Randle. He was talking in support of the team. He was talking in support of Tibbs. And if nothing else, I was giving credit to everybody on this team. We knew the dissatisfaction that Evan Fournier had with the coach and the coach's decision not to play him. We know he's still in the league. He feels he has something to contribute. But to the credit of every person on that team, they have kept it in-house to the best of their ability. But I'll tell you where it all changed. When I heard this point of frustration Obi made in the season, he started to get more, he's saying it with his chest, his dissatisfaction about how the coach is coaching. It all changed last season when the Donovan Mitchell trade rumors happened. And then the names started being revealed about who was going to be part of those trades. I told you all, it's going to be interesting to see what type of start these New York Knicks get out to, because these are young players who were drafted to this organization, who in their minds committed to, listen, nobody wants to come here, so we got to be the ones responsible for helping turn this thing around. They invested their energy and all of that passion into that. And this was their first affront with the business of basketball when their names were mentioned and they came close to being shipped out. RJ Barrett came close to being shipped out. IQ came close to being shipped out. Obi Toppin came close to being shipped out. And then the deal fell through. Leon walked away, or Danny Ainge walked away and did the deal with Cleveland. Now everybody is left in the room looking at each other, having to make amends. That's when it went awry with Obi. And not even necessarily there. That's when it went awry with IQ. Because you saw IQ's demeanor change. He started to be more serious on the court. He wasn't smiling so more. He had moments where he was puffing up and he was giving a scowl at people. And I know he went into the season thinking like, yo, y'all really was going to get rid of me? Let me show you what you would have missed. And then he went on to have a phenomenal season competing for Sixth Man of the Year. And him and Obi are best friends. And when media would surround IQ, would ask him like, yo, listen, you playing at a tremendous level. What do you think of your play? IQ would be like, yo, listen, oh, you look like Lou Williams. IQ would say, I respect Lou Williams. I got a lot of my game from him, but I'm a starter in this league. And that's when it started. Because this season, IQ said, y'all want to be about business? I want to be about business too. And I know you got a point guard, but I'm letting you know I want to start. So you better think about what you're going to do when you pay me. And if you're not paying me, think about what you're going to do when you move me. But since this is a business, let me be about my business. This is a business, man, and I'm a businessman. And after he made those statements to the media, he went home. Obi was right there on the phone too. IQ was just like, yo, bro, you better start talking up for yourself. Because if you don't say nothing, you're going to be sitting here rotting on the bench behind Julius Randle. So I was waiting for Obi to do this. And when he did it, I was proud of him low key. Because it is time. It's time for him to get this opportunity. It's time for him to get the same number. You will not know how he is in comparison to Julius Randle until you get that man the same number of minutes he has. See if he can be a 20-point scorer in this league. See if he can improve his rebounding game. Make him play with a starting point guard for 40 minutes or 30 minutes in a game. See what type of production you get out of Obi Toppin. It's time for you to speak up, Obi. So I'm proud of him. I'm proud of him. And to you people who are just like, maybe getting a little bit nervous because you're relatively new Knicks fans, or for you people who just like, what? This is why we need a new coach. It's the coach and the temperature. Bump all of that. This is what winning teams do. This is why you hear about Draymond Green fighting Jordan Poole after they win the championship. This is why you hear those things. This is why you hear in the Last Dance documentary that the whole team didn't like Mike, but they respected him because they knew what he was doing and he made them better. This is why you hear years after winning teams have controversy and challenges. This is why you hear about Tony Parker having problems on the Spurs. This is why you hear about Kawhi Leonard not being able to trust the organization because of the injury, all of that. All winning teams are going to have issues and challenges. Part of the documentary is how they navigated them to still win championships. So miss me with all of that. All of you people who's talking about, it's the coach, we need to get rid of the coach, it's this, that, and the third. We got to this point with this coach, with these players. It's part of the journey. All right? So this year is going to be a monumental move for this organization. A decision will need to be made. Are you going to give Obi Toppin more minutes? He's voiced it now. And it's public. And he said it directly to the coach. He's saying, I see your lack of adjustments. If you would have put me in, this could have been a different outcome to the game. He's clearly stating it. He's saying with his chest and he's making it plain. What are you going to do about Obi Toppin? And now you have his brother on the team, a rookie player, and we don't know if he's going to be a permanent fixture, but still it can impact the energy if changes are not made. What are we going to do? So sit tight, New York Knicks fans, and let's see how this thing unfolds. But I'm proud of Obi Toppin for letting his voice be heard, lifting his voice and letting everybody know that he's not accepting of this role going into his third or his fourth year. He's ready to take on a bigger role on this team or trade him so that he has an opportunity to have his own team and make his impact on this league. So shout out to Obi Toppin, my guy. You are the chopped cheese here at Knicks Deli. Next up is the quarter water before we wrap up. So we are at the quarter water. Who is the quarter water of the game? Let's go. The quarter water of this episode. You can't have nothing. You can't have the chopped cheese, dollar slice, bacon, egg, and cheese if you ain't got nothing to wash that thing down with, and that is the quarter water. So the quarter water for this episode is Jalen Brunson's selection to FIBA basketball. It's important. But before I get into that, let me look at these comments real quick. I don't want to get too far behind with your comments. Let me see what y'all are talking real quick. Hold on, bear with me. Do me a favor, hit that like button, y'all. Hit that like button. Subscribe if you are viewing and you forget. Just subscribe to the channel. I got another video on this very topic. It's going to be Jalen Brunson being accepted to the FIBA roster. It's an important move for the New York Knicks organization. We're going to talk a little bit about why now, but I'm going to go more deep in the video that I'm releasing tomorrow. So my guy AP says it's like the Mets and Carlos Delgado. He snubbed the Mets for the Marlins and ended up getting traded to New York the following year and made the playoffs. I doubt he regretted that. That's a great comparison. That is a great comparison. You know I'm a Yankee fan. Shout out to the New York Yankees. My guy Wise says the most talented player like Scoop, the Thompson twins, etc., didn't play college ball. They were in leagues with low profiles. Yes. So now I'm excited to see what their talent level is. You know, with the NIL and all of that being available, a lot of kids are taking different routes. I mean, nationally, I'm in the business of higher education. A lot of kids are taking different routes other than college, if we're being honest. So I'm really curious to see what type of talent the NCAA missed out on with these players and how can their skills translate to the league. So those are great points, Ash. AP says, wouldn't it be funny if the Knicks drafted LeBron's kid and he wants them to pay him? That would be the ultimate karma. That would be the ultimate awkward moment. You know, it would be one of those sorry, bro moments. So that would only be karma of the universe if that happened. That's a great point, though. AP also says that happens in every locker room, but Tibbs got to make it right with Obi. I think he totally treated him unfairly. I agree with you, bro. I agree. I'm a Tibbs fan. Everybody knows that, but at the same time, what's right is right. And I think Obi is right. The thing about Tibbs is he falls in love with his favorite toy. And the front office last summer had to step in and make him trade a lot of his favorite toys. Made him trade a lot of his favorite toys to Detroit. And what happened as a result? Mitchell Robinson got more playing time consistently. A lot of our young players got more playing time consistently. He couldn't go on the bench and pull Taj Gibson in. He couldn't go on the bench and pull this person, that person in. Front office forced him to trade away some of his favorite toys, but they let him keep one. And that's Julius. They need to get rid of this favorite toy. Obi Toppin sees that. Tom Thibodeau not only favors his veterans, but he believes in accomplishments, and he awards that. He believes in that. A major move that he did that shows he has the ability to change was when he benched Derrick Rose. After telling him, take this off season, get in the best shape of your life, you can still drop a few pounds. And then come the season, he made the decision, you know what, when I switch this rotation, you're not going to be part of it. That's a major adjustment in terms of philosophy that Tibbs made. So it shows that the potential is there, but he needs help. That front office needs to get rid of Julius Randle. You need to take his last favorite toy away. And then he has a whole new chest of new toys that he's forced to play with. So that's a great point. That's an absolute great point. Ash says, Obi gave them enough rope out of respect. And with his last year coming up and us losing the game, he had to react. 100% facts. There's no lies detected in that statement. Demario Montague, welcome. I apologize. I hope I said your name correctly. Says the Obi Toppin chopped cheese with a bag of salt and vinegar chips and a Snapple. Give me that. I got you. Everybody eats. Everybody eats. I think I'm going to retire the quarter war. It's going to be a whole new menu for the summer. I got to get a summer menu up in this piece. And Snapple's a part of it. I know I'm ODing with the flex ball. Shout out to you, Demario. All right. Alawa says, I don't need to see Obi play Randle minutes to know he can't handle the pressure. Attention Randle receives. You never know unless you put him in that position. We said the same thing about Randle before he came here. You never know until you put in the position. You never know what you'll be able to handle. Same thing applies to our team. That applies to life. If there is no struggle, there's no progress. Let's find out. You never know. They said that about Jimmy Butler. That he can't lead a team. He can't be a 1A on the team. We said that. When he became a free agent, I looked at him, I was just like, he's 28. And I've never seen evidence that he's able to galvanize a team as an A. I'll pass, bruh. I'll pass. And if you think about it as a team, we don't need to lean on him the way we've been leaning on Julius when Julius got here. Julius was originally given those 1A vibes by the front office because he was the 1A on the team. We have bums on a team. Now we have a Jalen Brunson, someone who's equal or better in terms of talent and ability. If you swapped out Julius and it was Obi, obviously there will be other moves that are made. But what we will lose in terms of that output in the go-to person will probably be a shift in the style of play. We will be able to play faster. In the short stints that we did see Obi in there getting minutes, we see where he thrived. He thrived in transition. He thrived in transition. The man would score. I mean, he would be a volume scorer, but the same thing applies to everybody on the team, especially RJ. RJ is a volume scorer. He got to put up a lot of shots in order to get his points. The opposite is true with Obi. Obi is probably one of the most efficient players on our team. So I don't. The time would be now. If the team decided they wanted to move forward with Julius Randle, then it's time to move on from Obi. But if they decide, you know what, they want to keep Obi and keep him satisfied, I don't think you can have both of them on the team at the same time. You're not giving them equal minutes. You're going to coach is always going to defer to Julius. And they're going to be here again in the February deadline. Now it's going to be disruptive to the locker room. But what I say to that is, listen, you never know how you respond to a situation until you end the fire. Everybody can talk about how they will respond in the middle of a crisis. Only a few, once they're put in there, that's how you know if somebody is equipped to sustain in that heat. So we will see. But I don't want to completely dismiss based on what we've seen in short spouts. Hey, you never know. You never know. All right. Alawa says Obi is Kenny Skywalker. Hopefully his brother is better. That is a good reference. I really don't remember seeing Kenny Skywalker play, but I remember in terms of my memory, I think his highlight was the dunk contest. But in terms of his play and his impact on the team, wasn't that much. And if that's accurate, then God damn it, Allah-wise, you were spot on so far. Okay. Allah-wise also says, no coach is sitting his all-star so Obi can get more minutes. That's like sitting Brunson to give Deuce more minutes. Nobody's asking for that. All right, bet. So we clear. We clear. I think Obi deserves an opportunity. And if that means moving forward from him, moving on from him, it's time. Whether it's with the Knicks or outside of the Knicks, it's just time. It's time for something to happen with that power forward situation. Because the initial plan didn't work out the way we thought it would. All right. APAP says he needs Obi to perform because Obi could be the one that saves his job. Everyone's going to be looking at Tibbs this year. Facts. But once again, we got 2 years left in Tibbs's contract. It's not Tibbs that I'm rooting for to finish the contract. It's the organization. The New York Knicks need to have a stretch where they show that they allow people to finish what they started. This is a league where people are being fired in the middle of the contract and we're paying them when they're no longer there. Historically, that's been New York's MO. This one time, can we let somebody finish out their contract and then part ways with them and say, we gave you an opportunity from beginning to finish and it's not satisfactory. So we want to move forward now. So now that any coach who is considering coming to us, they know that they will get a fair and honest shot to fulfill, pardon me for the background noise, to fulfill their obligation as coach. That's what we're aiming for. We're talking about turning this around and showing stability in the organization. That's what we're trying to do. So no matter what the outcome of this last season or this next season, there's one more after that. And then we can move forward from Tom Thibodeau. Tom Thibodeau may not be the coach that's going to get us to the championship. But Let's get him to the end of his contract and then let him go. That's what I'm saying. That speaks to stability in the organization. When you give this group of players the same coach, no matter if they complain, listen, many of you out there have kids. You ain't always going to be the favorite parents for your kids. They're going to be like, God damn, I was born with these parents. If I could choose my parents, well, you can't always choose your parents. You get what you have. You make the best of it. You try to grow to the best of your ability. Sometimes your parents can't predict the level of success you achieve in life. Sometimes they look at you and say, I can't believe you came from me. I could never have imagined this for you. And the same thing applies to coaches. You can't always pick the coach that you want, but you have the coach that you have, and you got to make the best of what it is you have. Sometimes it's as simple as that. Okay? Allah Wise says he barely handles single coverage now. Come on, shit. Listen, man, I know. Okay? We have who we have. We have who we have. And if changes come, changes come. Let's see. Allah Wise also says, yes, in transition against benches. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. I did have complaints this season with him because I'm like, it seemed like all he was doing is just running the corners. And he would hide in plain sight. And part of that is not necessarily scheme. When he runs to the corners, I could tell his scheme. It's almost like, all right, get to the corners, be ready to be kicked out to and hit the three. But there were points when Obi was on the floor and he was hiding in plain sight. And I was just like, what else? You're not even calling for the ball. You're not moving to be in the line of sight of the person who may possibly get doubled. There was a lot of moments. I'm not going to lie. I know I'm sounding contradictory and hypocritical right now. But now that I'm reflecting on some of the games, those were my points of frustration with him. I had an opportunity to see maybe 3 or 4 games while I was in Indiana. And those were some things that I was just like, you can go stretches with Obi getting minutes and not know that he was on the floor. So that does speak to the schemes of the coach, but it also speaks to, listen, as a player, sometimes you got to go get it. The moment you touch the ball, you got to make something happen with it. So I don't know. We will see. I do know that we're not the only ones watching these games. Front office is watching the games. Coaching staff is watching the games. Players are watching the games. So to go in the season and not make any type of adjustments and do the same thing you did previously, that's insanity. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But otherwise, you got great points, bro. I can't argue with that. Otherwise, says just throw him in the fire. Not sound business. Love this show, Shea, my man. I appreciate you, brother. Listen, here we can agree to disagree and agree to agree. We want all the smoke. You already know that. And I'm not afraid to admit if I'm wrong. Period. And none of us are 100% correct. We pontificating just like the people on mass media are. All right. Demario says, you got my name right. Salute. Yo, shout out. My name is Boss Shea. Okay. So anytime somebody says my name correctly, I appreciate it. That's why I value and I try to take the time to say names correctly as well. So it's good to hear that I got that right. APAP also says LeBron James probably had a spy in the locker room recording. You know he did. Allah says that's why you dope shit. You keep it about. Listen, I tried to, man, but 100%, all of y'all do. And that's what I appreciate about our fan base, man. We don't listen, you can't. This is why we got many of this younger generation shook. This look like LeBron and a lot of his peers, and I'm not delusional. Y'all see it. This is why in those rare moments you gotta give Juju credit, bro. Like when we didn't, many of us was just like, when we heard that we signed Julius Randle. Because we saw, from afar, you can see players if they got that energy, if they got that swagger, if they got that vibe. That's New York. He didn't have it, but you got to give him credit, bro. This man had the highest of highs and the lowest of lows in the New York spotlight. And he had moments where he broke, mental health wise, you in New York and you're not from New York. You from the South, bro, but you got a California vibe, and now you plop in the spotlight of New York, bro. So I can understand why you're having these mental challenges or some of these breaks where you have to really focus on mental health in order to be able to play this role that's in the hot seat. But to his credit, he's never run, bro. He had a chance to opt out of his contract and move forward. He didn't do that. You could say it's the money or whatever have you. He didn't do that. He stood in the moment, bro. To have a season like he had in his second year and to come back and have a season like he had last year, I'll give Julius credit, bro. He gets respect for that. And in the meantime, while he's at it, he's putting his name on the New York Knicks record books. Many of his numbers are going to mirror, by the time he's finished, many of his numbers are going to mirror Carmelo Anthony's. This dude sneakily came in here and put his mark on New York. Whether we get rid of him this year or whatever have you, he's left his mark on the New York Knicks organization. He's had moments. And he's probably had more moments than Melo. So shout out to Juju, man. We got to give him credit, man. Shout out to Juju. All right. So let's see what we got here before I continue. DeMario says, you got my name right? Oh, I got you. Appreciate you. Let me make sure I got these right. Last part. AP says, great point on the Tibbs contract. Yeah, man. Let's see what it is, man. That's one of the beauties of where we are as an organization, bro. We legitimately are standing tall. We got our shoulders back and our chin up. Knick fans, we are proud. We could be proud to say this is our organization and not be laughed at. We could be proud to watch ESPN and know that when you talk about the Knicks, you got to put respect on our name. We're proud as a fan base now. We've always held our own. We've always not run from the ridicule. We're going to stand up because you can't keep New Yorkers down. But we're proud of this organization now because they're making sound decisions. They're reputable again. And part of that is going to be having to endure some tough decisions like keeping Tibbs to the end of his contract. But it's more than just loyalty to the coach. It's forcing him to do your job. They got to be able to have honest conversations with Tibbs and say, you got to make this change. Trade this player, bro. We love him. We're going to make sure we trade him to a good situation. But it's time to move on for him. Obi is the future, if that is the case. All right? And let me go to the quarter water. All right? And I wanted to get to this because this is something that took a quick headline, but it's important. It's 100% important. If you were under a rock, or you may have missed it in all the draft hype, the managing director of FIBA basketball, okay, that's the international basketball that's going to be played this summer, is Grant Hill, okay? And he has selected about 10 names to be part of the FIBA basketball roster, okay? And one of those names was our very own Jalen Brunson. Huge news, okay? Other names that were part of that list is Mikal Bridges. There are a few others. Anthony Edwards from the Minnesota Timberwolves is on that list. So there's 10 names that were identified. I think Cam Johnson from the Brooklyn Nets is also on that list. He's a shooter. But when you look at that roster, there's 2 more spots because they select a total of 12 players to play. So there's still 2 more spots open that I think are left for superstars. So I'm almost anticipating that there may be an invite that goes out to a Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown, or possibly, I would say Ja Morant, but we know that ain't happening. Possibly a Zion Williamson. They need 2 superstars who's going to make that thing pop. But what the NBA is doing. I talked about it with everything that's going on with Zion Williamson, and it's not a character thing. He just has some extra stuff, but not being able to get his career on track in New Orleans, and then John Morant, those were the two who were supposed to be able to take the baton from LeBron James when LeBron James was retiring and lead this NBA into the next 10 to 20 years. But now that's in question. So Adam Silver has been scrambling. If you watch my video on Adam Silver's pivot, I talked about it. He's looking to see, how do I piece something together so that it's just enough for a superstar to emerge, where we could put this cape on his back and he could lead us into the next 10 or 20 years. So what Adam Silver did is now he's fixated on who is the young generation. Who are these potential stars who can help market this league and take us to the next level? So he selected 10 players. Go look at the FIBA roster. It's a new generation. There are very few of the old stars who are names that were associated with international basketball. And Jalen Brunson is one of the names that he's identified as being part of the new generation. And why is that important, Shea? It's important for several reasons. When you are selected to represent your country in international play, then the league sees you as one of the faces of the league. They see you as one of the stars that they're going to be able to market to the league domestically and internationally. What does that mean for New York? It's a permission slip for all of the riders who bypass Jalen Brunson for all-star consideration. It's a permission slip for all of the riders who bypass Jalen Brunson for all NBA consideration. It's a permission slip for any of the riders who bypass Jalen Brunson when considering him for most improved player this year. It was almost like they didn't believe if he was the real deal. But his selection to represent the nation in the FIBA basketball tournament, that is the stamp of approval by the NBA that now it's okay to consider him for future awards. That's number one. Secondly, what you're doing now is you're putting our point guard on the largest stage. This is why it was important for us to make the playoffs for all of our players. Because when we were at the point of the Donovan Mitchell trade, and they was talking about adding IQ and adding RJ and adding Obi Toppin, and Utah was like, that's not going to be enough. And all the experts on TV was like, that's not going to be enough. It's because they didn't watch those players play night in and night out. We knew the talent of IQ. We knew the potential of all of those players because we know our players, because we watch them every night. None of those people watch our players play every night, night in and night out. And they have no other opportunity to get eyes on those players because we were missing the playoffs. So the moment that we started making the playoffs and making that playoff run, then everybody started talking about IQ. The moment we were able to get players in the Rising Stars game, that's when they were introduced to Quentin Grimes. When Obi Toppin was able to join the slam dunk contest and win it, that's when they were introduced to Obi Toppin. We have to be on the stage so the world outside of New York can see the talent and the potential in these players. Now, what happens when that stage is international? When everything that we see, the man of 1,000 moves in our point guard, Jalen Brunson, when not only is he showing what he could do when he was giving the work to Donovan Mitchell in the Western Conference, and then he turned around and gave the work to Donovan Mitchell in the Eastern Conference. In the closeout game, he drops 41 to try to will his team to a victory in the second round. When nobody predicted us to win more than 37 games, that Jalen Brunson, what happens when he does that on an international stage? When he does it against Spain, who is now the number 1 seed, and the United States is the number 2 seed. What happens when he gives that work to Spain? What happens when he drops 40 on Wembayama and the French team? What happens? Now you're looked at as a superstar. Melo is now known as one of the best, if not the best, international player in history. So they will forever look at him in terms of being associated with New York. That's the reason why you got photo evidence of Luka in the New York Knicks jersey and Porzingis with a baby blue headband, because Melo was his favorite player, so he got a chance to play with his favorite player when he got drafted to New York. That's the influence on the international game. It's an introduction of the New York Knicks jersey to the world, increasing our profile, increasing our jersey sales. It's so much that goes into this. It's not just winning basketball games. It's taking our rightful spot back on the stage as one of the top teams. We're already one of the highest in terms of valuation, in terms of how much a team's valuation, how much a team's worth. We've always historically been up there. But in terms of respect around the world, this is huge. It's huge. Why else is it important, Sheer? Tampering, goddammit. If you think of the big three in Miami, if you think even of the dream team and Clyde Drexler eventually going to Houston and Charles Barkley going to Houston, if you think of any of those players who have an opportunity to talk, KD, Kyrie, these are when deals are made, when there are all-star games and when there's international play. These players who go in not knowing each other personally, but leave being more connected, having experienced how each other practices, how they work. What are the leadership skills? They're going to be players who go into that locker room who've only experienced another player from afar. Anthony Edwards will go into that locker room in FIBA and dap Jalen Brunson up for the first time. And then he'll have an opportunity to suit up side by side with him and sees firsthand how he attacks the basket and gets to the rim. He'll have an opportunity to go through practices and ask him, how do you do that drop step in the lane with the floater? Show me. And Jalen Brunson will sit there and work with the young fella. And then they'll see when they go out to dinner, or they're switching from arena to arena, or they're in these close games and they see how somebody can lead the ball to the spot where he's good and used to getting it. You see that vibe and you go through your mind and you ask yourself, can I see myself playing with him? Can I see myself playing with him in New York? And that's when those opportunities happen. So not only will our point guard have an opportunity to introduce himself to the world, he'll have an opportunity to introduce himself potentially to a future teammate, hopefully in New York. All of that was done with a simple selection by the managing chair, and Steve Kerr, who will also be the coach for that team, will have an opportunity to work with our point guard. That's why it's valuable. So don't let it go over your head. The level of importance it was for us to be identified with the point guard being selected to FIBA. It says that the league has plans on marketing him as one of the upcoming stars. They see what we see now. It is no fluke. That man is not a backup point guard. He's going to be a point guard that has historic moments in this league and our jersey. And the league is trying to get ahead of it, trying to say that we was here with him from the beginning in New York. And they know that New York is on the rise again. So I love the fact that he was selected to be part of the FIBA basketball. He could possibly be one of the American stars that we talk about in this league that's dominated by international stars for the near future. Okay, so shout out to Jalen Brunson, the quarter warder who was selected for FIBA. And as I close this thing out, I want to thank you for joining me. Do me a favor, hit that like button, leave your comments below as well. I'm about to close this thing out, but I always end it on the nah, son, nah, you wildin' moment of the game. And this will be the moment of the show. Nah, son, nah, you wildin'. So it's that thing that make you look at the screen sideways and say, nah, son, nah, you wildin'. And for me, that is the state of the Knicks and all of the negative Nancy's who are on Twitter. Okay, we got a chance to talk about it a little bit. We just talked about, when you go through a draft and you don't make a move, you get all those people who come out of the woodworks. Oh, we need to fire Leon and start over. We need to fire Tibbs and start over. What are we doing? Oh my God, I'm pulling my head out. There's some people who sit there and be like, why we didn't make a move? And then the same breath turn around and say, I didn't realize we didn't have a pick. It's just like, come on, listen. Sometimes we have fans within our own fan base who just wait for the opportunity to critique the team. And then there are sometimes when you have fans in Knicks Nation who never see anything wrong with the organization. Okay, some people, I stand accused. Some people accuse me of doing that. I like to think I call it how I see it. But what I will say is, this is year 3 with Leon at the helm. There's a lot of things that we know. We know this man is not going to show his hand. We know this man is not going to have too many opportunities where he talks to the media. We know this man have pulled some rabbits out of the hat. We also know this man is not going to be moved by public pressure to just make a move, to just be making a move. We know that he's strategic. We know that there is some work that's being done behind the scenes. And we also know that he's assembled a solid team that has restored the luster on the organization, that has restored the reputation of the New York Knicks in terms of being at least a soundly run team. Okay, those are the things that we know. We also know as Knicks fans that we've been abused for a long time. And sometimes it's tough to believe that we're moving in a positive way, that this is something that's sustainable. Many of us have never seen or been in a situation where our team was a team that had sustainable winning, was a team that could actually dream and see steps that are being made. We've never saw the process of the sausage being made before. Pause. We've always been at the store to pick it up because it's already packaged. We've never seen the chopping up. We've never seen the animals led anywhere. We've never seen it mushed together and put in the casing and wrapped up and then put in the packaging. We've never seen that. It's always been from shelf to counter to table. This is the time that we're actually seeing how the process is of a team and an organization being rehabilitated. So it's easy for us to get negative. Everybody, feel how you feel. This is what makes us the best fan base in the world, because we're passionate. But what I'm saying is, we've gotten this far. This is year 3. Let's ride this thing out. Let's continue to trust the process. It's paid dividends for us. We've seen it. This is the first season in a long time that I enjoyed watching every game. Watching this team develop, watching IQ take his game up a notch, and watching him have his Kobe Bryant moment in the playoffs where once again the lights were a bit too bright. But for the first time, he really elevated his game in the regular season. It was growth. To watch RJ really struggle throughout the season and elevate his game in the playoffs in big time spots. I enjoyed that. To watch Jalen sustain his high level of play and prove everybody wrong. I enjoyed watching all of that. It's growth. It wasn't watching grass grow. We were able to see those moments. It was like watching your child grow and all the lessons you've been teaching them, that moment where you realize you didn't have to remind him or her to do it. They did it on their own. They did it on his or her own. It clicked. They get it. So we got to be the same way. We're also rehabbing as Knicks fans. This is new territory for us to be at a draft and not have any investment in it. This is new territory for us. So this is not me, to use Stephen A's word, this is not me casting aspersions. And this is not me judging any of the fan base who are just like, yo, listen, y'all got to get on your grind. I want to see results. But this is me saying we understand that we're all rehabbing from everything that we've gone through the last 20 years. Let's just finish what we started. And then once these 2 years are up, now we can effectively say, listen, we've proven that we can be a patient fan base and really work through this rebuild. But we can also hold you guys accountable. You asked us to trust you, and we did. But now that we're at the end of this process, what are you doing now? Let's hold them accountable at that point. All right? So I say this, let's not be the na portion of the episode. Let's just let them carry out this process. Okay? Let me go to the comments, and then we're going to close this thing out. My guy Allah Wise says, Randall and Brunson, year 2, I think this team will be better as currently constructed. But if we grab somebody that I think we will, fans will be happy again. Let's go. APAP says, I've been watching since 1991, and I think we are in a good place now. Absolute points. And it's about the same time that I started committed and watching the New York Knicks as well. So that's a great point. Homer 1075 says, great show, fam. Keep it up. I appreciate you. I'm going to try. My guy, Zay, where you been, brother? Says, I got faith in Leon. I got faith in him too. Shout out to you, Zay. Let's see. We got Allah Wise who says, right and exact shit. Leon keeps it quiet. We can't assume. Just got to be patient. Agreed. AP throws those thumbs up. Do me a favor before you leave. Let me get that thumbs up. Let me get that like. Just give me a shout out in the comment section. All of that engagement helps with the channel as well. So as I close out, I want to thank y'all for taking the time and joining me tonight. Just wanted to hop on here. Check out this video I got dropping. It's called FIBA Brunson. And he's ready for the world. That's the name of the video. It's going to be out tomorrow. It's going to be looking at the top benefits of him being selected for this team. I gave you a lot of it today, but it'll be official video tomorrow as well. Just a reminder, check out my socials. I'm on Twitter. I'm on YouTube, of course, and I'm on Instagram. Follow me on those social medias. We're growing these things as well. Coming soon is Facebook, for those of you who rock with Facebook as well. And these are my closing remarks, man. I'm excited to see what unfolds with our team. This is a huge offseason, and I really believe that this is an offseason where the New York Knicks are going to make a move. And I think whatever move they make, similar to what was just said, is going to determine what our next steps are and how we navigate in the future. The future will be framed by the next move that we make. So I'm excited to see what Leon has up his sleeves. What bright star will finally arrive in New York now that we've fertilized the soil and we made it so that a star can grow in this concrete jungle. Keep this in mind. Same thing applies to life that applies to our team. If there's no struggle, there's no progress. And also understand this. Not only do we have next, we got right now, goddammit. All right? Knicks Deli. Y'all have a great night. Peace.